feel like I'm dreaming, man should have seen that look on my face. But I'm so low-key, I'm an anonymous G that I left no trace. But when I step one foot in the room, I'ma set this pace. I feel like king of the hill when they're never gonna take my crown.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday Fun Day. You know what that means. It's time for another Last Week in Wrestling podcast, the best podcast out of Long Island. MJF said it best. So let's get right into it. Of course, I got my absolute amazing people with me each and every time we go live. Of course, that's Big B, Byron, and Asa from No Bones About Wrestling. We're going to get to them in a second. But of course, we want to let everybody know that this stream, like all other streams, watch-alongs, and anything else that we do, is brought to you by the great partners of Main Event Network and, of course, NordVPN. But we'll get to NordVPN a little bit later on in the show. Let's get to our guests before we get into the actual topics of the show tonight. We'll start with the big guy himself, God's favorite host, my man, Byron. How are we doing tonight, buddy? What's going on?
It's Sunday, and you know what that means. I'm back on the Last Week in Wrestling podcast. Thank you for having me, Dylan. Happy to be with you. Happy to be with Asa. Shout out to you both. Excited, man. I don't want to say too much. Host of the Flex Zone, you guys already know. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Almost at 2,000 subscribers, so hopefully we can hit that this week. I think we're less than 10 away. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description. I know Dylan did a fantastic job, as always, promoting us. We appreciate you, man, and happy to be here, talk some wrestling content.
There you go. There you go. And of course, my man that we just had an amazing watch along, a retro watch along over on his channel himself. My man, one half of the best podcast couple out there, Asa from No Bones About Wrestling. What's going on, my guy? How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
You excited for tonight?
Of course, yeah. I haven't been on your podcast in a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a little while. It's been a little
nice
while.
to be here. Yeah, with you and Byron, we'll have a good discussion. I know, with the three of us being on here.
Oh yes, absolutely. We always are having some awesome content, no matter what time of the day it is. So I'm very excited, and of course, we are going to be talking about all things All Elite Wrestling, AEW. That is what this whole entire podcast episode is about. We're doing a specified AEW podcast right here. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. And of course, we have a lot to talk about. And let's kind of start getting right into it, guys, because of course we had last year, we had World's End that kind of finished off 2023, whether you liked it, whether you thought it was one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time, or Jesus Christ, why do they have to do MJF dirty like that? We had, of course, the media call prior to that, where, of course, Tony Khan went over World's End, plus a whole bunch of other things, including revamping the women's division in this coming year. Of course, Toni Storm even hinted at it, that she was excited to talk and maybe work with some new talent itself. So we're going to go across the room and kind of get our thoughts on this itself. But like I said, Tony Khan kind of mentioned it, how he was very excited to see this new generation of talent possibly gracing his AEW ring in the coming future and revamping this women's division. Asa, I know me and you, and of course Byron, have talked about this countless times on all of 2023. So we're going to start with you, buddy. What do you think is his mindset going into 2024's new women's division layout?
Well, I mean, it just has to be seeing, the fact that WWE has made a, successful run with a women's division, and they have, some women superstars who are more popular than a lot of the male superstars. Some of the women like Becky and Charlotte and, like Asuka and Bailey, certainly they're more popular than a lot of the male superstars are. With people. But, so he has to, of course, try to match that. But I think his mindset is not only in that, but of course, trying to do a better service to the women that he has on his roster and that he has had on his roster for the past 5 years. I think he's started it a bit. We've seen, like the things we saw, two women's matches on World's End and one on the pre-show. a great step in the right direction. 3 out of 12 matches that night were women's matches. That was great. But I think just him trying to be a little more equitable and spread things a little more evenly, given that he has the talent and he knows the talent is out there, and now, like he said, he's gonna go get it. He said the women's free agency. He said the talent's out there, and he said he has some tricks up his sleeve. He said he has several tricks up his sleeve, I think was his quote. So I think he's ready to make a go of it, just because he knows he can. And like I said, he knows he should. He knows it's time for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've been, of course, saying it all 2023 that the women's division needs this new fresh coat of paint. They need this new step in the right direction. We had a brand new TBS champion after, of course, Jade Cargill's departure. We now have Toni Storm representing the AEW Women's Championship, a brand new gimmick that's been going really well and working very well for her in those coming months as well, ending 2023 strong with that match against Rio at World's End. But exactly, Tony says he has a lot of these things in his foreseeable future, of these ideas of a revamping of this women's division that many of us have complained about all of 2023. Though, to his benefit, going into Full Gear, going into World's End, this has been the second pay-per-view in a row where he's had more than 2 matches on the actual card. And in general, we'd only see 1 on the main card. Full Gear showed off 2, and they were 2 title matches for the women's division. TBS champion Julia Hart and AEW women's champion Toni Storm. And then again for World's End. So maybe, like Ace is saying, is that step in the right direction? But Byron, we want to hear from you now. What do you think are some of these tricks that Tony might have up his sleeve? And of course, Deonna Purrazzo was the fresh new signing that we just had on this previous Dynamite as well.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important, like you all said, to start. You have to put them on TV. And I kind of went back this week, and AEW has Dynamite 2 hours. They have Rampage, which is 1 hour, and Collision 2 hours. So they have 5 hours of television programming. So on Dynamite, we had 4 women's segments. When I say segments, I'm just meaning matches, promos, vignettes, anything including talent. So you had 4 on Dynamite. You had 2 on Rampage, I believe. No, excuse me, 3 on Rampage. And then you had 3 on Collision. So you had about 10 segments and 5 hours of television this week with your women. I think that's fantastic, because one thing we need to realize is you gotta put people on TV to give them a chance. It's no reason people are going to get behind them if they don't see them on TV or have some sort of reason to invest into the women's division. And when I look at this women's roster, I mean, you just said it, Dylan. Deonna Purrazzo, Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa, Hikaru Shida, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Serena Deeb's coming back, Britt Baker's coming back, Jamie Hayter's coming back. You got Red Velvet, Statlander, Soho, Ruby Soho, Willow Nightingale, Soraya, Mercedes Monet potentially coming in, and rumors are it could be as early as maybe this week. But that right there is a good roster to use. And it not only works with your 2 championships that you have. I think Toni Storm and Julia Hart are doing pretty solid so far, but you have other women that you can utilize in storylines that don't have to involve a championship. And I always say the best storylines are storylines that don't always involve a championship and have some heat behind it. Anybody can book a feud with a championship. It's obvious. You want the championship. But what are the feuds that you have that don't involve a championship? And why should I spend my time to watch these segments and go back and actually invest in them, so when we get to the pay-per-views, I'm shelling out $50? But I hope
Right.
Tony Khan continues to build on it, because we've seen Tony Khan do this before, where he starts off hot with something, but then it just goes cold. So these start and stop pushes have to stop. And if he doesn't do it this year, he's never going to do it.
Yeah, I think that's well said as well. We've been, like I've been saying, very adamant about how we want our women to be showcased, and even sometimes main eventing shows like Asa said prior, sometimes the women are better than the men when it comes to this wrestling ability. The men, of course, have some very interesting storylines and story beats, and they're the focal point of what is going on in the wrestling community in general. But if you compare it to something like WWE, where we had a very nice, good build up for Rhea and Charlotte to main event WrestleMania, that could have been something bigger and better. And it was something of a great watch to see. So I'm very excited and hoping that we see something from Tony Khan and stability, that consistency and true stability for this women's division going forward, I hope is in his near future. Because if not, then I would just leave it alone. Just not even bother, maybe take it to something to like Ring of Honor and maybe start developing the women's division there, and maybe being the focal point of Ring of Honor going forward in 2024, 2025. But for now, we'll see what he has up his sleeve. He says he has all these tricks and stuff like that, but he's also given us announcements throughout the year that haven't really been star-studded or A+ ratings and everything. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope for the best. And I'm very excited because, again, Tony Storm, we got Jamie Hayter coming back, Britt Baker coming back. Of course, Thunder Rosa just came back looking better than ever in her recent match on Collision with Abaddon against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. We have the newcomers, Kiera Hogan, Sky Blue finally trying to make a name for herself as well. A couple of ladies from Ring of Honor have showed up, Marina Shafir. So there's a lot to work with. It's just the direction and how they're going to move the needle, as Jeff Hardy would say, to really getting to that next stage, that next step forward. Because there could be pay-per-views where the women, like a Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, could main event and could close out the show. And MJF might be that second string co-main event. And if that's something that can be done, then AEW might be that place where it can be done. And I hope to see it. Honestly, I do, because these women are very talented, and I'm very excited to see some of them. And I'm excited to see what is next for this women's division as a whole. So hopefully we'll see that. But speaking about TV and all of that other good stuff, of course, this year marks the last year for Warner Brothers and AEW side by side. That's TNT and, of course, TBS and HBO Max, which we're still trying to figure out what that whole Bleacher Report and AEW little junction that they got going on is happening. But of course, Warner Brothers TV deal is ending this year, meaning that AEW will have to figure out whether they're going to re-sign with Warner Brothers, keeping them on TBS and TNT, or will they maybe do a TNA move and do something like a subscription service where you could watch all the shows live, pay-per-views, and so much more. So we'll start with you on this one, Byron. What do you think about them already being on TBS and TNT? And do you see them possibly leaving and going to a subscription service come 2025?
Might help if I unmute, but
Yes.
I think if, for those who may or may not know, I do think that, and this isn't a WWE podcast, but WWE is coming to Turner. I think that is going to be the announcement we hear, maybe by the Rumble. Just remember where you heard that. I think WWE is coming to Turner, and I think a certain Pepsi man has a lot to do with that, because the reason Collision was created was for the Second City Saint himself, because he couldn't play well with others. So the execs at Warner Media love them some Pepsi Phil. And if they could potentially get him on a Monday Night Raw, because remember, we already got the announcement for SmackDown. We even got a damn NXT announcement for the CW. And we haven't gotten Raw yet, the longest running episodic TV show in history, right? They always coin that. So it's weird that we haven't heard that announcement yet, but I think where there's smoke, there is fire. I do think that with having CM Punk now, we could, and I think we will see Raw on a Turner network, whether it's TNT or TBS. Pick your poison. And also the NBA deal is coming up as well, so we'll see if the NBA does stay on a Turner network. But with that being said, with that leaves AEW is signed through 2024, I think October or the end of this year. Now, I think the reason we haven't gotten that streaming deal announced is because if you have one wrestling company on your network, I don't think you're going to have two. And you know WWE does not play well with others, and you know they're going to put in their contract that if we're on your network, you're damn sure not going to put AEW on any of your networks while we're here. So you're going to have WWE, I think, on Turner, and I don't know where that leaves AEW, hence why we haven't gotten a streaming deal announcement yet. Could they go to an FX? Could they go to FS1? I don't see that personally. I don't know where that leaves them. There were rumors that AEW would be on Discover potentially. I don't want AEW on Discover. I personally would like to see AEW do something different. We saw this year, and actually, Dylan, you can attest to this. You are a YouTube TV subscriber. This year, we saw the NFL Sunday ticket, which, if you know anything about, was a multi-billion-dollar deal. We saw the exclusive home for every NFL game you wanted was on YouTube TV. You could pay for that, get a deal, and you could watch every game on YouTube, on your tablet, on your phone, on your TV. I could see maybe AEW doing something like that. You get the YouTube TV deal. You can have no restrictions of what you can say. You don't have to worry about your product rubbing people the wrong way, the blood, the certain matches, the promos of blocking people out. I think that could be a situation they could look into because I think people are cutting the cord. We've cut the cord on this podcast, a lot of us here. And why not do something different if you're going to essentially be pushed out the back door, which kind of sucks. And if you've noticed Tony's mannerisms lately, he just seems like a guy and talking in these scrums. And when you ask him about these media rights deals, that doesn't seem to really have a home. And it seems like Warner has kind of soured, dare I say, on the AEW product for whatever reason. That's just my 2 cents.
No, I definitely feel you on that as well. I mean, there's been a lot of conversations that Tony has had on press conferences, media calls, and just even newsworthy moments where, he stated that Raw dropped a good amount percentage wise on TV. It dropped to about 10% viewer ratings overall. And they were only at an 8 spot, an 8 percentage. So that 2% difference for him made him feel like he could combat with somebody like WWE, which we all know WWE is the creme de la creme. They are the top of the food chain. They are the guys in charge. They do exactly what they've been doing for 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years and continuing strong and never going to slip from that top seed. But having a other promotion on TV like an AEW and having Raw slip during that time frame is interesting. That might be something that Warner Brothers looks at and goes, well, there was this time that you slipped from X percentage to 10%, and AEW was not that far behind you. So maybe re-upping is something that Tony is willing to do. Because besides that, he had on the media call where he stated that, the Warner Brothers and him are very good. They're very tight. They seem to be all cohesive on both fronts. And it has to be somebody with a really, really big dollar amount that can persuade them to move somewhere else. I know there was rumblings about a subscription service during 2023 because of this whole Warner Brothers deal, but we really didn't hear much of that. It continuously stayed. And then, of course, HBO Max was that maybe subscription-based service that they were going to switch to, where AEW, Dynamite, Ring of Honor, and Collision as well as Rampage would all be there, and for an additional $10 you could get the pay-per-views instead of spending the $50 and paying for the pay-per-views, but you also get to keep the pay-per-views with a backlog of all of their content that they've had. There's been a lot of different conversations and different wormholes that AEW has traveled upon for us to see that maybe they are sticking with them, but we're going to pass it to Asa now. Like Byron was just saying, WWE, if they were to be the ones to first put down the contract for Warner Brothers, that, the biggest stipulation is I don't want another wrestling promotion, especially AEW, to be in my sight. And also, we have Pepsi Phil, who is a big advocate with Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers wanted to sign Pepsi Phil for a very long time, hence why we had Collision on a Warner Brothers TV network. So there is that play into factor when it comes to something like that. So Asa, we want to hear from you now. What do you think is the possibility of them either staying with AEW and Warner Brothers together or possibly going over to a streaming service platform come 2025?
Yeah, I think, excuse me, I think things would really have to pick up this year to see them stay with Warner Brothers networks. Things were down year to year last year for them, and they can't decrease again this year. So maybe if they can go up year to year, or definitely if they could go up year to year from 2022 to 2024, looking at the ratings is what I mean, comparing them from 2022 to 2024. If they could go up year to year, they might look at keeping them. But like Byron said, I kind of get the feeling that WWE is going to the Warner Brothers networks. It just seems that way with the things I've read and what y'all have been saying. It seems for some reason whoever is in charge of their sports division there loves CM Punk and just wants to be in a relationship with CM Punk when it comes to wrestling. But of course, wrestling still, I mean, wherever they go, it'll be very lucrative still, because you're still getting at a very, one of the most desired demographics, 18 to 49. Because it's not like AEW's ratings are bad, and especially for advertisers as well, that 18 to 49, AEW wins cable a lot of nights, and especially the 18 to 49, they win that a lot of nights as well. So it's a very desirable product, especially Dynamite and Collision. Very desirable product if you're an advertiser, which is what the TV networks, of course, want to lure as advertisers. So, we're not talking about the end of the world if they don't get on again with Warner. It's not all doom and gloom. Whatever happens, they'll find a good home. I'm not too worried about it, but I do think they'll be leaving Warner Brothers. Where will they go? I don't know. The HBO thing sounded pretty good to me. That seems to be the biggest lead that we have as far as them having a next home. As far as anything concrete that we've heard, is the HBO thing. Otherwise, anything else has just been people speculating, really.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And we're going to take this little fan question here, but really more of a statement. Mona saying that streaming in general right now is very tricky, and trying to get a deal is even worse. And it's very true to that statement as well, because even though WWE may have the money to get something of a streaming service, they tried that out with the WWE Network way back when, and it worked well, but it didn't work to the benefit of a lot of consumers. So they kind of pulled back on that, and that's why now they're a part of the Peacock Network, which honestly has played a lot more into their favor, especially with their premium live events, their pay-per-views each and every month. So that definitely has played a major role for them and NBC Network for them to partner together. So maybe there is something there where they'll just re-sign and maybe continue with that Peacock Network and streaming service through them for the pay-per-views and everything else. But of course, with that being said, TKO, of course, is now the sole proprietor of WWE with UFC and everything. So there's a lot more that factor into something like that. AEW is a company that is owned and run by Tony Khan, that he really is that determining factor. Warner Brothers is just the TV outlet. That's really all that they are in that type of arrangement. So, maybe streaming isn't a bad idea if they were to work together to do an HBO type of deal. But I want to hear from you guys with this. We're going to talk about this just for a few more moments. Like, do we think that there's a possibility that the streaming app or the streaming service is better off to be a partner with them, like an HBO Max, like a Hulu or something, instead of trying to branch out on your own and try to create a service like TNA Plus is trying to do, or even just Premier Streaming Network that has a whole bunch of different indie shows that you could watch and, of course, keep track on, and a whole bunch of news and podcasts as well. So, Asa, we'll hear from you first. Do you think that it's better off for them to partner with somebody like an HBO Max that already has a really great rep, or should they try to branch out and really pick their own poison and try to become their own streaming network?
Well, one, I just wanted to say I looked. I don't know if we were certain. Their contract is up December 31st this year. So
Yeah.
I just want to be let's to be sure on that. Man, to me, it would almost make sense. As much money as the Khan family has, it makes sense to just do their own thing to me. You know, like they've done with Ring of Honor. I don't see why not do your own thing, and that way nobody is making you jump through hoops for any reason. I mean, if you're going to do streaming, why not do your own thing and then have a product to sell instead of having to fit into other people's ideas of what they want. You can have your own product and you're selling to them instead of having to sell, you know, instead of having to like I said, instead of having to kowtow to what they want, you're selling a product that you've made, you know. So I think that's the way to go, is just develop your own thing if you're AEW and you want to do streaming. Yeah.
Okay. Byron, what about you, buddy?
I think to Mona's point, streaming is very expensive. Streaming networks and streaming deals and creating a streaming network is very expensive. But like Asa said, the cons are loaded. It is a very, I think, time-consuming thing as well, because you don't want to create something that's trash, like Peacock was. I still don't really like Peacock, honestly. It's okay, but it still is kind of trash because you can't even rewind to certain points of the matches. So if I'm watching a premium live event, for example, if I rewind too far, that's why I'm always behind, because I went back too damn far. I can't go back 30 seconds. I'm going back minutes because I can't stop it. But I think it's very, very interesting. I do agree with Ace. I would love to see them do something, maybe AEW Plus or something like TNA did. Even I think TNA has something where you can pay $5.99 or whatever a month, and you can watch all of their shows on YouTube without the commercials and without the advertisements, so without the picture in picture and all of that. And then you can pay an additional premium for certain pay-per-views. And I do think WWE is going to move to that model. I think their Peacock deal ends in 2025 or 2026. You're going to see WWE move to that ESPN Plus mentality where you get your regular pay-per-views, but your Big Fours, your Rumbles, your Manias, your SummerSlams, your Survivor Series, you'll pay that premium $50-$60 for as well. Now, I think with AEW, I would love to see them on Max, but like I said, if WWE does go to Warner's Discovery, I don't see AEW still being able to even stream their catalog on there, because I think WWE is just that petty and will put it in their contract. Could they go to a Hulu? Could they go to a
Disney
I don't
Plus?
know. I don't know. I mean, Disney Plus has ads now, but do they have wrestling? Do they have a want for wrestling? I don't know. Hulu has live sports. They could fall into that mantra. That's why I pitched the YouTube TV idea. You pay the money for the weekly shows, and you pay, I guess, what, maybe instead of $50, maybe $20 for the pay-per-views. Something.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, you know, I'm an avid YouTube TV subscriber. I pay for it, you know, every month and everything, and it's $72.99, I think, or $74.99 now a month. That's just regular TV.
Well, let me ask you then. If I say, hey, Dylan, you got YouTube TV already, we're going to charge you $100 a month. You'll get every AEW episode, and you'll get the pay-per-views. How would you feel about that?
I'd rather it be factored into my $74.99 a month, honestly, because and the thing is, for me, for someone that watches, you know, mind you, I'm watching Raw, I'm watching SmackDown, I'm watching Rampage, I'm watching Collision, I'm watching Dynamite, and then I'm going out of my way to watch indie shows, TNA, and all the other stuff. I'm paying subscriptions for New Japan for their, you know, their matches and stuff. So like, and I'm paying $50 for the pay-per-views as is right now. So if they're going to tell me that the only advantage of paying $100 a month now from my 75 is now I get to watch AEW and I get the pay-per-views. That's cool, but it's like, what about
But
the
you get
fan?
all the catalog too, I guess. We get that too.
Yeah, but it's still to me like I'm already paying 75. Like if it's factored into that 75, cool. If I'm paying the extra $5 a month for that premium and I get all of those bonuses, okay, fine. I'll pay the 80 because I know I'm watching the show anyway. So it's like it doesn't really make a difference. But if they could factor it into what I'm already paying, because again, I'm only paying basic cable here. Like, yeah, I don't get all the other, like I get TBS, I get TNT, I get like a whole bunch of regular cable shows. I'm not access cable, but like, above the cable premium, I guess you could call it like a optimum service or a Verizon subscription or something where you could get a whole bunch of TV shows. But if they're going to factor it into a YouTube TV deal, then yeah, like for us who've been paying a year or plus for subscription of YouTube TV, I would prefer them to factor it into what I'm already paying. Or if I'm going to have to pay more, make it at least worth my while and not as much of a $30 increase. That's a lot. That's an extra $30 that now I'm only getting for one promotion. You know what I mean? Like if they're not factoring in Ring of Honor as well, then I'm not paying the $30 just for that. Like I'll go and be like Wolf and Pirate, like I don't really, it's not worth it. I could cancel the subscription and just watch everything else on, other sites and shit. But for me, like, yeah, it would make more sense to factor it in or to just pay the little extra, but I get more out of it. The backlog's a cool idea. Pay-per-views is a great idea. Shows is a great idea. Add Ring of Honor. That's also another good idea as well. you know, or like Roger's saying, the bigger question is AEW be on a TV platform next year at all? And that's really what it is. Are they even going to be on TV at all? Could they be on something like an FS1? Could they be on something like a FX? Could they be on something like a Spike, and do the TNA route, how they did in the beginning? I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep our eyes and ears open. Of course, we're going to be reporting on all of it as everyone else is. But, you'll hear it from a better source called Last Week in Wrestling Podcast. That's all. Sorry, little cheap plug.
But also, real quick, Dylan, they are rumored. Now, they're not going to do it this year because they don't have the deal, which is something people aren't realizing. They're rumored to go to 12. You get 12 a year, one every month.
Right, and that's another thing too. And then also takes into the factor of creativity, like we were saying with the women's division before. Because if
you got 12, you got no excuse. You got to book
there's
the TV.
12 a month, if there's 12 a year, and the pay-per-views are 5 to 6 hours long, and we're still getting average or a little bit above average women's division and men's division, no. Please no. I'll stick to my like 8 a year and call it a day. Or 9 a year and call it a day. Whatever it is. But no, please no. Like I don't want to Battle of the Belts pay-per-view.
No, I think real quick, I think you'll get your Revolutions, you'll get your Full Gear, you'll get your World's End, you'll get your, I think Blood or Guts will be a pay-per-view. I think Grand Slam in your backyard will become a pay-per-view. Things like that will become pay-per-views. So that's just what I think they would do. Do I want them to do 12? No, but when you got 500 people on your roster, it does force you to make TV more important because AEW does have times where they have 2-3 months between pay-per-views. Like I said to you last week, I said, what are they going to do between World's End and March and Revolution to keep the viewers interested each and every week? They started off great this week, but what are they going to do for the next 8 weeks? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And Santos is saying maybe Hulu has an opinion. And of course, living with Big Reg. How are you, buddy? Welcome to the show. Of course, Joe Panther, welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with us tonight, as well as Mona and everything. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I know this is only the beginning of the year. We just started off 2024. their deal doesn't end until, like Asa said, December 31st, so New Year's Eve. So we'll probably hear more rumblings of this August, during All In time, maybe during their Full Gear and All Out pay-per-views that are coming up, and maybe start the rumblings during Double or Nothing when the summer's about to kick off, or Wrestle Dream or Forbidden Door. So there's a lot to play with here. There's a lot on the table, especially for them as a brand going forward and seeing what is next. But like we were saying before, AEW has Dynamite, they have Collision, they also have Rampage. And of course, a lot of people are saying that Rampage being an hour should maybe be removed. Maybe Rampage should be something that isn't a actual show, because there's not really enough time to develop characters. There's not enough time to build stories. There's not enough time to do all these things. And many are suggesting to replace it with Ring of Honor. So Asa, we'll start with you Byron, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think about Rampage possibly being changed over to Ring of Honor, which is a 2-hour show on a Friday night that would be competing with the likes, of course, of WWE SmackDown?
First of all, that time slot is the worst possible time slot that you can have. And maybe that's all Tony Khan got in his first deal, and he had to prove himself. So I won't trash it, because getting a TV deal is hard and keeping a TV deal is even harder, as we just talked about. I would like to see Ring of Honor become more of an NXT for AEW, as I mentioned. Now, if you want to put that at 10 on Fridays, make that an hour, cool. But what I would do is, we just mentioned all these women. We just mentioned we want to see good women's wrestling. We just mentioned it's an hour. It flies by. You book 3 or 4 matches. You get some stories in there. Why not make it a predominant women's show? You put your women on there. You let them work. You give them an opportunity to shine. I know everybody's clamoring for all women's pay-per-views. I'm not necessarily saying go that far, because it's a very interesting dynamic, in my opinion, but maybe give an all-women show. You can bring in other women talent from a Stardom, from an Impact, a Bushi Road, all these other promotions that want to work with AEW. Use your women's roster. You got, like I mentioned, about 10 to 15 women I just named that need to get reps, that need to be on TV, that the fans need to connect with. And I think maybe putting that to the women and utilizing their talents in an hour would be something that people would look into. Yeah, it may be a little bit of a niche audience, but you can also weave their storylines into your weekly television, where you have Dynamite, where you're promoting these things. You have your Collisions, where you're promoting these things as well. But Ring of Honor, I'm not a fan of the new Ring of Honor personally. I know you guys think it's good. The pay-per-views are fun. I mean, they're cool. The matches don't really have much story. The weekly television is just really just thrown together, in my opinion, like AEW Dark. But I would love to see maybe Ring of Honor use, like I said, like a developmental where you win matches on Rampage to get to Dynamite and Collision. But, I mean, hey, I'd love to see it maybe be an all-women show possibly.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And yeah, I mean, Ring of Honor, it is 2 hours. So maybe they could get a different time slot. But then again, what is that time slot? Is it a 7 to 9, which means that many viewers are going to only watch the first hour of Ring of Honor and then leave once 8 o'clock comes, because they want to see their part-timer tribal chief Roman Reigns, or Randy Orton and everybody else that's over there? Is that something that is in the cards for them, or does that kind of factor into what we were saying prior, which becomes a part of that streaming offer, that streaming deal, that TV option? Maybe it starts on a Sunday. Maybe that's what Sunday is. Or they keep the Thursday spot, but instead they're on TV on TNT, and they just lose Friday as the option. That's something that could be done. They go, look, Rampage did a percentage for X number of fans in this demographic. Ring of Honor is doing this amount of numbers, which somewhat is around the same thing. Is there a possibility for TV-wise we could do 2 hours on TNT on Thursdays instead, so that way we have now the option to do Ring of Honor, Dynamite, and then Collision ending the week off. And there's nothing in the way to really mess with the ratings for AEW with WWE, because again, Rampage, as much as many of us might stay up and watch it, a lot of us are rewatching it the next day or later on in the weekend or on a Monday before Monday Night Raw, or, you know, not many of us want to even watch AEW. There's fans out there that don't like AEW at all, and they're only sticking to their WWE. So it is another thing that plays into factor of what, you know, like we said prior, that TV deal could be or couldn't be for them. But, you know, maybe it's just a time spot and a date spot. Instead of going on Fridays, it's a Thursday instead. So, Asa, what about you, buddy? What do you think about Rampage possibly in the near future leaving that TNT 1 hour section on Fridays and being replaced with something like Ring of Honor?
Nah, I'm not for it. We got so many people on the AEW roster. They got to get on TV. Ring of Honor, you know, it's a whole different thing. They got people on the roster. Ring of Honor is a subscription service, so if more people there need to get on, they can add as many shows as they want. They could have 7 days a week of shows if they wanted to. They can do whatever they want with Ring of Honor. It's a subscription service, so that's its own thing. But with Rampage, you know, it gets people on who don't get on otherwise, and it gets some people, you know, kind of little audition matches here and there, who you might not see otherwise. And then maybe you'll see them, they have a good match. You'll see them a month later, and they have another good match. You'll see them a month later, they have a good match, and then eventually maybe they're part of the roster. You know, for a while, that's kind of where, you know, Vikingo kind of operated, was on Rampage. A lot of times that's Rampage is where Orange Cassidy had a lot of his first international title reign. That's where he had a lot of his fantastic title defenses. So I wouldn't want to undo those kind of matches. Now they've got to do something. You know, the ratings, they're not awesome, but they're not terrible. They just did I'm looking at least on December 15th is the last one I'm looking at. 308,000 people watched. That's not bad. December 8th, 341,000. And that's not bad at all, you know. And then the week before that was 348,000. So it's not terrible. They need a boost. They need something. They need to do something to boost the Rampage ratings. That's for sure.
Would maybe changing them to Thursdays instead be that boost that could do, you know, 400,000, 450,000, 500,000 in their near future?
Maybe. I mean, that certainly would be better than Friday at 10. Yeah, it is kind of a death slot, but I think the ratings now. The ratings, I believe they reflect DVR now. And if you watch it within so many hours of it actually airing, it still counts it. So, I don't think the Friday at 10 is as bad as we think it is, but it still is not a good time slot. Because ideally it's wrestling, and you want people watching it live. You want people to be excited to watch it live. So I would say, yeah, Thursday at 10 would be better. Definitely.
Thursday at 9, you know.
Or Thursday at 9. Yeah, Thursday at 9.
9
if
to
you
10.
could get it. If you could get it. Yeah, 9 to 10.
Maybe we could even expand Rampage to a 2-hour show on a Thursday where there's a little more time to flush out things that happen on Dynamite the next night on Rampage, and kind of set up for things on Collision as well going forward, and kind of wrap everything up on a Collision show before going into a pay-per-view even. So, there's definitely something there.
Yeah, they have enough of a roster, so, I mean, they could definitely do it.
Yeah.
But the only question is, 6 hours a week, is that too much?
Well, I mean, WWE does 3 on Monday.
3.
4, 5 on... They do 7, and then NXT is 2 hours.
I mean, would you guys just rather have a third hour of Dynamite and just get rid of Rampage altogether?
No. 3 hours is long. I don't even watch
3 hours.
Raw because of it.
Yeah, I don't want a 3 hour show
No.
unless it's a
Not on a
pay-per-view.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
And I think you got to remember also the Cons own a football team, so they won't go on days that go against football. So Thursday would be tough because you got NFL, and that's what kind of sucks for Collision. While their ratings
true.
aren't the best because the shows are okay or they're sometimes really good, but if it's football season, you got college football, you got UFC fights, WWE. You know they're assholes, so they run their PLEs on Saturday nights. So you got to think about these things when we talk about what days we would move them to. It's kind of tough because it's not really nowhere for them to go. But what I would do with Rampage, if you're going to keep it on Fridays, Dylan, you kind of mentioned it. Why not make it your appetizer for your Friday night? You know, a lot of wrestling fans are going to look for SmackDown. You got that hour, maybe make it 7 to 8 as your
Right.
appetizer leading into a
SmackDown.
SmackDown. And I don't like the fact that it's taped. Tape shows just feel taped to me. No matter
Yeah.
what they try to do, no matter how special they are, or whatever they put into them, it just always feels taped. And it's missing that, as you mentioned, Ace, a live aspect. So maybe if they could move it Friday 7 to 8, make it more live, that
Mhm.
would be something I would look into watching. I mean, Rampage isn't horrible. Usually it's decent matches. And I think, like Asa said, as of late, the matches have been pretty good. And they've even had some promo segments, but that's a death slot. And what can you do? I mean, 7 to 8 would be a lot better than 10 o'clock because most people at 10 o'clock on Friday, if they're not out already, they're doing something else. They're not watching wrestling. Same with Saturday nights, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll see. Hopefully that debt slot becomes a positive thing for them going forward and maybe another key portion of their TV deal come 2025. But for right now, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsor, not sponsor, sorry, partnership with NordVPN. And definitely make sure you guys check out NordVPN when you guys can, because it's an amazing YouTube VPN, internet VPN. My God, I'm saying so many wrong words here. A internet VPN where you could get all your stuff in the palm of your hand and be very discreet, so that way there's no viruses or any other type of nonsense to go ahead and interfere with what you guys got cooking on. So of course, let us hear from NordVPN real quick.
Traveling to a restrictive country with internet censorship? If you want to access your country's websites and content you love securely, a VPN is the answer. With just a few clicks, NordVPN changes your virtual location. You can enjoy your favorite websites and services securely, as if you're home. Choose from over 5,000 servers in 60 countries and surf the internet with no restrictions.
There you go. And like they said, surf the internet with no restrictions. And that kind of ties in to our next topic here, the new group of AEW, this new terrible faction, in my opinion, of the Undisputed Kingdom, this absolutely madness of a faction that is unbelievably going to be everywhere on everyone's screen. So we definitely are going to have to keep an eye out for them. But the Undisputed Kingdom now being tag team ROH tag team champions, of course, the Kingdom themselves are tag team champions for the ROH. But now, where does that leave them? We saw on Dynamite on Wednesday that Adam Cole and his little minions came out to flex their microphone skills and letting them know that, hey, we run the show now. We are going to call the shots. We are setting up everybody for gold. Roderick Strong for the International Championship. The Kingdom are representing the Ring of Honor, maybe going into AEW's Tag Team Championship down the road and start an FTR type of thing where they collect belts. And of course, Wardlow, for the time being, possibly being AEW champion until Adam Cole is all healed. And then, of course, Wardlow, because he's the most nicest of guys, he's almost nicer than Santa Claus, some would say, just going to hand over the AEW championship to Adam Cole. So, Asa, we'll start with you with this one. Of course, we saw them finally get revealed at World's End, and now we know what's kind of in the foreseeable future with them trying to dominate the tag team division. What do we think can be the new step forward for the Undisputed Kingdom going in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have them to succeed. You have to have them dominate, and I would say I don't think they're lame. I don't think they suck. I think it's a cool stable. But
It's
you have to have
NXT 3.0.
it's what?
It's NXT 3.0 for me.
No, because you got Wardlow
That's the 3.0.
and
That's your
and
3.0.
and the Kingdom.
Nah.
Dylan,
Nah.
stop. Be respectful.
Um, but yeah, you have to have them dominate to a point, So the Kingdom already have the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Get Roderick Strong the international title, and then maybe even the trios titles. Maybe even maybe with the Kingdom and Roderick Strong. And then I don't know if you go ahead and get the world title on Wardlow, or if you wait a little bit, and maybe make it a little of a chase. I'm not sure, but I mean, domination in wrestling is belts. That's how we're taught. Success is in belts, and of course with stables, it looks good when guys have belts. So my whole point is we have to have this domination, because we have to have the faces coming together, and we've started seeing this a little bit already on Dynamite. I think it was where was it Collision?
Dynamite.
Which
Dynamite.
Dynamite, where we had
Dynamite was
Bullet
one
Club
where we saw them
Gold
all.
and Bullet Club Gold, and we had the Acclaimed come by and say, why don't we form into one, mega faction? And the
Oh
Bullet
no,
Club
that was on Collision.
on
You're right.
Collision, okay.
It was on Collision. My apologies.
And Bullet Club Gold, left kind of to think about it. And it would be a smart idea, and it's interesting now with with this one group obsessed with themselves and obsessed with their own victories and their own ruling over AEW. Now you could get these interesting groups, these interesting groupings of faces and heels going against the Undisputed Kingdom, trying to get the belts back, trying to get some success over them. Kind of, not exactly, but kind of like we saw years and years ago with the NWO and WCW, where you see WCW guys coming together, whether they were faces or heels, they kind of came together to fight the NWO, that kind of thing. And all that, we're doing to really to eventually prepare for MJF coming back. But we're doing all this, in the meantime, until MJF comes back. We have to keep it interesting and make AEW an interesting place and make this stable dominant. And like I said, that's how we do it. Give them a bunch of belts and let AEW, the best in AEW, kind of join up. And now we have this one mega faction. Cool. And now the Elite will come back. And now maybe the Elite will join up with some people. Cool. We got another faction. And then eventually the factions come together, etc. Now you got everybody going against the Undisputed Kingdom. But, eventually they keep skirting past and getting past. And, of course, eventually they aren't thwarted until MJF comes back and kind of leads everybody, because even still these factions can't quite get along, because they are made up of faces and heels, and they have their own little infights against each other. That's what I see happening. That's what I would like to see happen. Just everybody engaging, trying to get this one stable down, and this one stable just dominating. And I think it'd make for some interesting TV for the next couple of months.
I agree with that. Absolutely. I think it's definitely going to bring a new force of a tag team division and singles competition for AEW going into this brand new year. Roderick Strong finally now neck cleared, I'll say, for wrestling. And now he's strong enough to wrestle again. And of course, the Kingdom themselves are title holders with the Ring of Honor tag team titles. And like you just said, Collision, they kind of teased this whole Acclaimed versus Bullet Club, or them teaming up to face the Kingdom or the Undisputed Kingdom themselves and try to tackle all of them down and whatnot. So that way there is no more left of this terrible, terrible faction that they are not a big fan of. But it is setting up Adam Cole. It is setting up things for Wardlow. It is setting up things for Roddy. It is setting up things for the Kingdom. So that in itself is a very good thing. Whether or not I have my bias because I'm a MJF mark or whatnot is besides the point. I just am very excited to see what these teams are going to be able to do because, hey, a trios title on Roderick and the Kingdom doesn't sound that bad because they have, of course, the House of Black that they got to face after FTR and maybe Mark Briscoe, the Acclaimed, Bullet Club Gold, Juice Robinson's trying to come back. So him and Roddy having matches for that international belt again with Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta and adding people like, Eddie Kingston into the mix as well for maybe Wardlow down the road if AEW Gold isn't in his future like the regular main championship itself. Maybe they go for a little curveball and put Wardlow in a number one contender spot for that new Triple Crown. So there's a lot to play here with. There's a lot of things and moving parts. It's very exciting and everything for this new faction and whatnot. So, Byron, we're going to hear from you now. What do you think is next for the Undisputed Kingdom in their future for 2024?
I think they did a great job Wednesday with the explanation. I think from the presentation of the theme music to Adam Cole, and anybody who knows Adam Cole, his best work was when he was a heel back in NXT with the Undisputed Era. And whether you like the reveal or not, they got the right guys in the group. I think they hit on each person correctly. And I think them clearly identifying their goals. How many times do we see people join into a faction in AEW, WWE, any company, and we don't know why? We don't know what their goals are. They outline what they're here to do. You've seen the teases of Jay White being the first person they attack, him trying to get his revenge, the Acclaim trying to get their revenge as they were thrown through glass, and then enemy of my enemy becoming my friend because the Acclaimed and the Bullet Club have a history, but now they may join together to try to take down, like Asa said, the Undisputed Kingdom. Then you had the nice subtle tease with Wardlow possibly being the person to give his title back to Adam Cole. But I think they're planting a seed because you could then eventually see Wardlow out of the group realigning with MJF to help take down the Undisputed Kingdom. That could leave a void in their faction. Then you could have a returning Kyle O'Reilly fill in with his brother from the Undisputed Era. And then there's your blood and guts match right there. Sells itself. You got MJF, Wardlow, and whomever else against the Undisputed Kingdom with Kyle O'Reilly back. Then you have your main event possibly for All In, your biggest show. You want to sell 80,000 tickets again? MJF and Adam Cole. If Adam Cole is cleared and MJF is cleared, there's your main event right there. Whether it's for the title or not, however they get there, you could have MJF win back his title at All In. You could do so many things and so many moving parts, I think, with what they have here. And I think now you have that one dominant heel stable at the top of the card. In WWE, you've seen it with the Bloodline, you've seen it with the Judgment Day. In AEW, I think you now see it with the Undisputed Kingdom as well. So I think they're off to a good start. We got the explanation, we got their goals, and there are so many ways they can go with this. And I'm intrigued to see what they do.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Mona says maybe attack different members of the roster, could interrupt some matches to establish a dominance, really get them to go after the true camera, really being the front face of that camera. They want to be all about everyone getting eyes on them, and something like that could work out in their favor, or except for everyone knows who they are unlike before. So that is true. They were more of a mystery prior, but now everybody knows who these guys are. So maybe we'll get some cool gear out of this as well. The music is okay. Maybe they'll revamp that entrance a little bit. I like the graphics. I like the idea of it, but Wardlow just handing over the belt? Yeah, I don't see that fucking happening. I'm sorry. I don't see that at all happening. Maybe reteaming up with MJF is a good idea. But, that could be the way that the Undisputed Kingdom go down, is by that the old, out with the old, in with the new type of model of Wardlow and MJF going after, them being blood and guts, seeing MJF in a blood and guts cage match would be very something out of his element, very something new and a different challenge for MJF to really bring back what he kind of lost right now with the time being off. But, a lot of things are also circulating around his recovery process because as of now, he has opted out of getting surgery for his shoulder, which if he were to have gotten the surgery, he would have been out all of 2024 with the rehab and the surgery alone taking a lot of that time and recovery time away. So he's hoping for the best and it's healing kind of naturally with just rehab, seeing if that is enough so that way he could come back for this year at some point, double or nothing, all in, maybe full gear, maybe Revolution. We get to see him, me and Asa and Kay live. I don't know. But whenever or however he comes back, we just hope that he's ready to perform at somewhat of the same caliber he left us with from 2023. Everybody with an injury always lose a little bit of, excitement behind them because, injuries do take a huge toll on someone's body, and especially a long or short recovery time does show in some cases. Some wrestlers can bounce back and be better than ever. Others, takes a little bit out of them and everything. But MJF is young, so that also kind of plays into the effect of him, and a more of a natural rehab could be something in his near future. Mono also says the Undisputed Kingdom could also be a Trojan horse for others pushes, other pushes. For example, Wardlow, the Acclaimed, to an extent. Exactly. That also could be the catalyst to kind of push Wardlow's new story because he came back after Revolution with his new look, new haircut, kind of just squash match after squash match after squash match, just proving dominance. And that's it. Kind of what he was doing prior. Now he kind of has a motive behind him. Now he kind of has a story building behind him. I wouldn't mind seeing Adam Cole versus Wardlow for an actual opportunity at the title. That sounds a little more interesting. Again, the Kingdom and Roddy going after the trios titles. I like that idea. Just having the Kingdom go after the tag titles. Very cool idea. I know a lot of us aren't fans of Ricky Starks and Big Cass being tag team champions. I am, but I guess I'm the only one on the island that believes that they could do something very exciting with it. But yeah,
Don't worry, they're losing them this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see with Jericho and everything. But nonetheless, that kind of wraps up the main show for us here. But let's get into some fun stuff, guys. Let's get into the real fun part of the actual podcast itself. And of course, like we've been talking about all podcast long, revolution. And of course, myself, Asa, and his lovely wife, Kay, are all going to be attending AEW's first pay-per-view. That's right. Raise the roof, buddy, because we are going to have a fucking great time watching Will Ospreay's debut match. We're going to, of course, see the retirement match of Sting, and of course, the black liver with gold chains. Ric Flair himself is going to be there no matter what. I'm sorry, Christian Cage. That's such a good line that I keep using it no matter what. But let's have a little fun, guys. Let's fantasy book Sting's last match. We can have a fun one and we can have a serious one. We can have just a serious one or a fun one, whatever you guys want to do. But we'll start with you, Asa, since you and I are going to be there. We're going to play a little favorites here. And who do you think, or what do you think, could be good old Stinger's last match for AEW and professional wrestling?
I tell you what. Here's one that seems maybe likely. Is I'd like to see. Now this involves the tag titles changing a little bit, but that's fine. See Jericho and Sammy win the belts from Starks and Big Bill, and then have the Young Bucks return. You know, where allegedly they're coming back and they're going to be heels. Have the Young Bucks come back, heel, and win the tag titles. And then at Revolution, we get Sting. Somehow something happens. The Young Bucks start talking shit and they disrespect Sting. So then we get Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks at Revolution for the tag titles. And Sting and Darby win the tag team titles. And Sting goes out a champion. And then, like I said, after Revolution, we vacate the tag team titles and we have a tournament or whatever for them. But be nice. Sting goes out a champion with his partner, and it's a beautiful thing. Why not?
Okay, I like that one. Do you have a fun one that you want to also throw into the mix, or is that kind of the one and done?
Let me think a
Yeah,
minute.
that's fine. We'll come back to you, Mr. Big B, God's favorite host. What are we thinking for possibly Stinger's last match?
This is a tough one. I like what Asa said. I could see them giving Sting the tag titles. I just don't like the fact that you'll just vacate them the next day. It just defeats the purpose to me. But I could see that happening. Actually, I could see him actually going against Jericho and Guevara. Then you get that matchup of Sting and Jericho, and you get the pillars of Guevara and Darby. But I'm gonna go a little outside the box. Maybe we get Sting and Darby against maybe like Jeff Jarrett and someone. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna try to invoke some sort of nostalgia with Ric Flair, Sting. I don't really care for Jeff Jarrett at this point, but maybe throw Jeff Jarrett in there. And real quick, that is going to be your main event for Revolution, by the way. If you don't know, I'm breaking news to you. Sting will be main eventing Revolution. They haven't announced it yet, but they will. Trust me, he's going to main event Revolution. But so you guys will get to see
that.
Yeah, you guys will get to see that as the main event. That will be your main event.
Yeah.
And the tickets are selling very, very well, by the way. So it'll be a nice packed house. But I would like to see maybe Sting and Darby. I'm trying to really. I would like to see them maybe against FTR or something. Maybe just go balls to the wall. Just put Sting and Darby against FTR. Put them against FTR. Let them cook for like 15 to 20 minutes. I don't know if maybe they make it some sort of like stipulation or no rules, or I think they do now this Texas tornado thing. I mean, maybe something like that. Put them against FTR, or maybe put them against House of Black. Even it's a lot of ways they could go. Or if I'm fantasy booking, which won't probably happen, maybe Sting and Darby against Copeland and Christian.
That's a match. That's a match. That's a match right there.
But we're not
like
going to get
that
that,
one.
obviously. But just the fantasy wise, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a cool one. You know, I want to do something fun. I want to put him. You know, he's been doing a lot of crazy stunts, jumping off of things, falling through tables, etc. Get Sting in a TLC match. You know what I mean? Get Sting in a tables, ladders, chairs, Greensboro Coliseum against Darby. Truly let those two psychopaths cook. Just let them have 15, 20 minutes of just absolutely death-defying moments and have all of us worried that we're watching Sting's final time on Earth. You know what I mean? Like, really go out in retirement style than anything else. Because, like, listen, like, the guy has done great spots throughout his AEW career, and he's not been injured. He's been playing it safe. He's worked well. He's done some, you know, moments that I don't believe we've actually watched some 60-something-year-old man do and still be able to wrestle the next night or 2 nights later. You know, it's impressive. Like, this man really is impressive. So let him have a holy shit match and just go crazy enough with someone like Darby. Darby can do everything Sting can do, but just a little bit quicker and better because of his age and everything. So letting Sting and Darby go one-on-one in a casket match even is even crazy. Just have something of a crazy stipulation is more than enough for all of us that are going to be there and attendance and, of course, watching at home to be like, this was a perfect way for Sting to leave. I know Ace's wife, Kay, said have him come out with the old surfer gimmick, which would be really cool. Have his top, the flat top and the half painted face and like the spandex and everything. I don't mind it. Like, let's go, like if you really want to throw us for a curveball, get the old theme music, let Ric Flair be already there and just have the guy walk out to his old shit. Like, that's such a great idea, So I think, fun fantasy booking, I would say that would be my way to do it. But if you're going to play it safe and you want to be safe with the guy and whatnot, I guess you could put him in a tag team match, or just don't have him face Darby. Have him face like Edge would be cool. I think that would be really.
Goldberg needs a retirement match. Goldberg needs a retirement match.
North
Carolina.
Goldberg's upset that he's not getting no last match with WWE. Let him figure that out with Triple H and everybody. I think Adam Copeland would be cool. I think Jericho's another name as well in there. So, there's a couple of older veterans that are in there that I would like to see Sting have his last match with. But I think he's probably wanting to put someone over. And I feel like that's going to be that momentum for Darby. And I feel like that's going to be our main event, which is a great main event. Like it's Darby, it's Sting, it's just going to be amazing. And exactly like Mona just said, the only thing I want is for him to bring back Surfer Sting one last time. Like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, that would be great to see him come out with the flat top, the colorful makeup, the little like sparkly pants and everything, the white boots, like really go all out, balls to the wall, kind of crazy last moment, last ride of your life type
I got
of thing.
one more.
Okay, what do you got? What do you got for me? I also got one more too.
Yeah, you have Sting come out. We don't know who his opponent is. He cuts a promo. This is my last match. I'm going to give you what you want. This is my last match. Lights cut out. You hear the dong. It's Mark Calloway, The Undertaker.
Oh my God. Let's go.
I love it.
You do Sting and
awesome.
Taker. You do Sting and Taker. We never got it.
Would have rough.
People have been wanting that match for 30 years.
Yeah.
Just do it one time. Just do it one time.
That would be amazing. Asa, do you have any more?
Well, I got one that would it would work for wrestling, but it wouldn't be fun. One that would be good for some heat is if they're really trying to make Swerve a heel, do it against Swerve and just have Swerve beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
Oh,
And
no.
put Swerve over.
Damn.
No.
Damn. Byron has something to say on that one.
Oh, no, I was going to say, if that's the case, let Samoa Joe choke him out while we're at it.
I was thinking that, or Samoa Joe, right? The same thing.
Samoa Joe and Swerve take out Sting.
He goes for the AEW World Title and gets choked out.
Oh my God. I would also like to see Sting do the Raptors gimmick one more time, where he comes from the Raptors.
I want to see that. I think they may do that.
Has the baseball bat. Yeah, baseball bat, the trench coat, the black leather coat, and everything, the crows, and just like you see him in the thing, he's walking, and then all of a sudden he just flies down. He's right there. And it's like, all right, now this was worth it. This was worth the money for sure. Because that's something to talk about for like a long time. That is something to talk about. So that's very exciting. But yeah, listen, that's some great booking. We did some great booking, guys. I think no matter what, Sting's last match is going to be memorable. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot of teary eyes in the crowd. Myself, probably, Asa for sure, and even maybe Kay and everybody at home and stuff. So we definitely are going to be having a very one-on-one last moment with Sting. And I think Sting's probably going to say a goodbye speech and everything, which would be really great and very nice and everything. So that'll be definitely something everybody wants to hear. But yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very excited for Sting's last match. I'm looking forward to it. We just saw him wrestle at World's End. I got to watch him live wrestle. That was great. And then, of course, he's doing. I think he just wrestled on Saturday as well on Collision with Darby, which was great.
On Wednesday.
Yeah, and main event Wednesday as well. He's going to be wrestling there as well. The Homecoming TV show. So Sting's on his world tour, to go home permanently. I feel like he'll probably pop up at an AEW show again, or maybe a WWE event or something. In the near future. I don't think like he's just gonna sit home. I mean, he could. He doesn't seem like he has that like crazy itch to come back immediately, but like I think he'll come like once in a blue moon for moments and stuff, and that's really it. You might catch him in the crowd more than really seeing him in the ring. That'd be really funny to run into him during an AEW pay-per-view or a WWE pay-per-view where he's like a member, like an actual audience member, and it's like, oh shit, I'm sitting next to Sting. Sting, how are you? Type of thing. So that'll be really fun. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys coming on and everything. Asa, I know you have probably some stuff that you want to plug in and maybe Byron as well. So why don't we get right to that? Asa, talk to the people. What you got cooking?
Sure, we do our weekly show, AEW Weekly, which usually we do on Mondays, but this week we're going to do it Tuesday night at 6 p.m. So Tuesday at 6 p.m. on our YouTube channel, AEW Weekly. And then Sunday at 12:45, we're doing the Retro Wrestling Watch Along, Royal Rumble 1999, as per Dylan's choice. So 12:45 on our YouTube, come, and then at 1 o'clock we'll start the show on Peacock.
Awesome. And of course, Byron, what you got?
Yeah, tomorrow we'll be live for our first flagship podcast of the Flex Zone, back after a little hiatus of the holidays. So we'll be back. Got a national championship college football game. We have the NFL playoffs set, so we'll be previewing that. Then Wednesday we'll be here with you, Dylan, to watch AEW. We have some more things coming this week. Obviously, we may be live with you for the TNA. Is it Hard to Kill? We'll probably, of course, be here for Royal Rumble. We'll be here for all the premium live events and AEW events as well. So stay tuned. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. But we'll be live tomorrow, Monday night, talking about it all.
Awesome. Thank you guys again so much. I appreciate your time. Very valuable time. Yes, that is it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Long Island's Friends.
Long Island's best podcast out of Long Island. You know what I mean? MJF told me that, and I was like, listen, you're right. I don't know why it's taking so long for everyone else to not understand that. It's the truth. But no, thank you guys for coming on. I do appreciate your time. And we will be live again Tuesday for another podcast. It's going to be me and Leo from also the Flex Zone and Kicking It with Leo, talking all things TNA, indie shows, and a whole bunch more, New Japan stuff, and a whole bunch of other awesome things. So definitely make sure you tune in for all of that. Or if you want, join the Discord channel. I'm telling you now, it is worth the joining. Go over. The link is in the description below. Join the channel. Come hang out with all of us. Talk about whatever things you want to talk about wrestling-wise. If you're also a content creator, you can promote your own stuff on there as well, so that others can also view your stuff and check you out as well. Maybe get some new followers or subscribers as well. So definitely go ahead and check out the Discord channel. And like every podcast, like every stream, or every watch along, bless you, we are proudly partnered with the Main Event Network as well as NordVPN, which is also down below, just like all of my guests' links as well. They are also down below. So check out all of their stuff, including Asa and I and Kay's recent watch along that we just did today, 1994 Royal Rumble on their channel. That was very, very fun. 4 out of 5 was kind of the 4.5. 4 out of 5 was kind of the rating that we gave the actual pay-per-view. Very good matches and everything. First time seeing IRS, which was fun. So that was my first ever time seeing Mike Rotunda, Bray Wyatt's father, in action and everything. And yeah, that's really it. Do you guys have anything else that you want to say? No? All good? All righty. Well, then let's get up on out of here. It's Sunday night, so people want to go to bed. We got work tomorrow. I'll see everybody tomorrow, and thank you again. Later.
Start to feel like I'm dreaming, man should have seen that look on my face. But I'm so low-key, I'm an anonymous G that I left no trace. But when I step 1 foot in the room, I'ma set this pace. I feel like king of the hill when they're never gonna take my crown. That's the type of my sound. Better rise up when I shut this down.